to So What'd You Learn, where we learn from other people's mistakes so you don't have to, and hopefully we don't have to again either. I am Alex.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Dallas.
We have a very special guest with us today. Put your flippers or appendages together. Or whatever you have. If you only have one, just wave it around. We're not ableist
Or
here.
clap your ass. That's
yeah,
always fun.
exactly. Dennis.
Hey everybody! Thanks
Hi,
for
Dennis.
having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you very much for coming, Dennis.
So how's
You want to tell a little bit about yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. So a couple things. Dallas and I go way back, and I'm as far as my profession, I work at Microsoft, and
cool.
I'm a global data center operations manager.
Sounds complicated.
Don't know what that means.
It's a weird and interesting and fascinating thing that happens. It's like one of those Wizard of Oz sort of things. It's behind the curtains, and nobody. It doesn't matter what I do, except for when you don't get access to things.
Oh, it's mysterious.
It's one of those behind the scenes sort of deals. I've been doing that for about 15 years, but I also have a little side project where I basically get paid to play Dungeons and Dragons, which is
That's
super
cool.
exciting. There was a Bloomberg article actually about the rise of the professional dungeon master.
Yes. I've heard critical
Is
roles
that
very
legal, or
popular
do people simply just pay you for your time? Wink, wink. Or am I misunderstanding it completely?
No, so my service is called.
He's not a cam girl.
Or okay.
Hey now.
Yeah, Dungeon Master. It sounds
stream
pretty
this,
kinky
Dennis.
to me.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Whips and chains and shit.
Some people will pay a lot of money to see that.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
Ooh, Algar.
No, my service is hosted on Airbnb Experiences. I call it the Airbnb Experience.
Ew.
That's a fucking great name.
Yeah, everybody knows what Airbnb is, but a lot of people actually don't know about Airbnb Experiences, where instead of renting out like a room in your house or whatever for tourists, you rent out your time in order to do a tour, like kind of a tour guide type activity. You know how they have people like scripted guides that'll take you to across Pike Place Market, and it's all very scripted.
Do it on a Segway? By any chance? Because I've seen the troops of Segways around the city.
It's true. Or like the Seattle Underground guys. So you dress up in like an old-timey costume with a bow tie.
I haven't seen any of those on Airbnb Experiences. I don't do that.
I see.
But there are people that host classes that do tour things rather than it being like a packaged product that's sterile. It's a real person who lives here.
No, that's actually fascinating. I've never heard of the service.
Yeah, when
It's
I was
pretty
in,
fucking cool.
there was a bunch of different stuff when I was in Ireland is when I figured out about it, because they had all kinds of like tour guides and
Tour guides?
tour
Tour
guides. And
Hey now.
they had this farm where you could just kind of go around and hang out with sheep, and the dude would just kind of like tell you about his life while you hang out with sheep.
Oh,
in
that one over
Ballyvon.
there.
It was
the
cool.
best fuck. You want that one? It's $50 extra. No one will say anything, I promise.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's tailored for newer type players, but I've had anywhere from corporate like morale events, team building events, to people who have played extensively and they just haven't done it in a long time and don't have the time anymore. So
No, it's
great,
super fucking cool.
Here's a service, and it's really fun, super exciting. But anyway, that's
what do I could use some corporate morale right now. How many people do you take at one time for the experience?
5.
5.
So
okay.
maximum group size of 5 people.
Well, I know one person that want to play, and then
You can just sit in the corner. And
I'll sit in the
y'all can
corner
make
and
fun of
then
them.
I'll bring beer and stuff, and I'll hang out in the
D&D
corner.
can technically be played
the
with like up
cuckold
to
of
8
D&D.
people or something like that, but
Right.
if you have too many, then what happens is it takes too much time between everybody's turns, and then
And people lose focus.
then
And all
they
that
get on their cell phones, and then that just it's my turn now they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, like, wait, can
into
you
this,
all
like-
recap the last 20 minutes of
Right.
activity? I was
Yeah,
not
exactly.
paying attention.
Sorry, I was
on
watching a video.
Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's not fun for anybody. So anyway, so that's a little bit about myself.
Nice.
Wild.
Yeah.
No, I never knew that was an actual thing you could do. I mean, good thing to know about the gig economy. There's just one more thing to do.
Yeah, and by
This
the
episode
way,
brought to you by
there's
Airbnb
concerts. Yeah, thanks. There's concerts. There's strange classes. There's all sorts of. It's amazing, and sky's the limit as far as what you want to
Oh, it's pretty fucking cool.
offer to people.
So could I, possibly sign up for this as maybe like a teacher of some kind and teach some sort of class out of my apartment about being some sort of a quote-unquote podcaster.
You could
That just involves me getting high and kind of writing things
your
down.
rating probably wouldn't be very good. Don't you have to go through an approval process?
Well, here is where I sit in my underwear and contemplate things.
I wanna
usually
get
about
to-
3 or 4 bowls in.
I want to get too ahead of yourself because we haven't been approved for our podcast yet.
So that's why I said quote-unquote podcaster. I'm not approved by Apple or Spotify or any organization, but, I've done a few.
It's just turtles all the way down from there,
Yeah.
man.
Wild
Well,
stuff.
Dennis, I kind of gave you a little heads up, but basically what we do here is, have guests like yourself on, and then they tell us a "so what'd you learn" type of story, and then
we make fun of you. We don't necessarily make fun of you.
depending. But we have no idea what you have prepared for us today, and I'm kind of excited to hear a little bit about it.
I was actually thinking about it for quite a bit, and because I've definitely learned a lot from a lot of experiences in my
You've
life.
taught me many things.
Right. And it all really boils down to really focusing on the principle of matters rather than the consequence. And I'll get to what that means in a second, and I'll talk about the initial experience, what I learned that kind of helped shape that attitude as I've continued on my life's journey. It started, it basically comes from an experience that I had when I was a teenager. I want to say I was like 13 or something. And I
Little baby Dennis.
Yeah, I was a little guy, a little peanut. You know.
Nugget.
90s
Did you still have the same hair?
I did actually,
That's
except
great.
for it was not all white like it is now, but it was still long and flowing. It's part of the long hair fair even back then.
Beautiful.
So I was right at 13, and I lived in SeaTac actually. So I was born and raised, and I've lived my whole life here in the Puget Sound
very
area.
cool.
So it's
Local boy does good.
yeah, kinda. And actually, that's part of what this story has to tell, because my parents gave me their credit card to go to the store to get a couple of things and pick up some pizzas and whatever. Like, hey, go get us stuff for dinner, kid, sort of thing.
And
Berries and sticks.
Yeah, and I went to the place to order the pizza, and then I was going to pick it up and pay for it when it was done. And I stopped by there was like it's even still there actually. It's on Pacific Highway or I guess Tukwila and International Boulevard or Highway 99, whatever you want to call it, and 200th. It's a 7-Eleven that's there.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I went in there and I grabbed like a bunch of drinks, and then I went home. As I was waiting for because the pizza place is called Pizza Time. It's actually, that's also still there too.
Pizza time.
Yeah,
Wow.
ironically.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I forget what I was spacing out on. I was really thinking about something pretty heavily, and I just was in the zone. You know how when you get in the zone and just everything else just fades
It's tunnel
out?
vision almost.
Yeah, exactly. So I realized that I had gathered all of the stuff from the store, and I didn't pay for it. I totally just walked right in there, grabbed everything as I was thinking about whatever I was thinking about, and then I left. I went home and I dropped it all off.
You took the literal lesson of the song "Walk Right In, Sit Right Down, and Take What You Want."
Yeah, 5-finger discount style. And the thing is like, I thought about it for a while. I'm like, man, those idiots, what the hell? How do they let me get away with this? Does this happen all the time? Like, dang, a bunch of free drinks, awesome.
Thank you, steal again.
Right. But, of course, there's always like Mr. Rogers, and there's all of these things that can. And at the time, I was playing a lot of like Final Fantasy and a lot of role playing games on, like Nintendo, Super Nintendo at the time, and they're very much geared towards and flavored towards doing the right thing. But obviously, it wasn't in my advantage to do that, because oh shit, I go back there, and then what are they going to do? Call the cops? Are they going to, who knows what the reaction could have been?
Like write down every UPC. Like, here's the list of products I have in my possession.
right.
Please bring them up accordingly.
My bad.
Well, I mean, so clearly it would have just been very easy and to little to no consequence at all to have done nothing.
Sure.
But I even in the fear of the moment for a 13-year-old to think about what the implications of that might be, like, oh crap. You know what? I said, all right, I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. So I gathered up all the stuff and I brought it back and I said, hey, look, I was in here just a minute ago and you probably were busy doing something. I was just spacing out and I walked out with all of this stuff. Like, I definitely should pay for it. am I in trouble? Please don't call the cops on me.
Honest mistake,
Yeah, honest
I
mistake.
simply made an oopsie doopsie whoopsie.
Right. And so, of course, they obviously didn't call the cops and want to arrest me and allowed me to pay for it. And they thanked me for being honest. And while I was out, I went to go get the cash out of the cash machine in order to pay for everything. But somebody else's card was in there. And it was like ready to go, like as in...
Come on.
In money.
This was the devil tempting you.
So you're rolling 20s on luck all the time here.
Yeah. And funny thing is that's not far from the truth. I am like the best at the moderate lottery.
Yeah.
Like throughout my
Moderate lottery, I like that.
Yeah, because I can't win the actual lottery and get a gajillion dollars.
Sure.
But like just a little side tangent, like at work.
Yeah.
Do or die situation. All eyes on this particular I was working on this servers, things that are in data centers, and big deal, massive to big. If you fix this, you're a hero, and if you can't, then you're fired. Right?
Okay.
This is like I said, this is a
do
or
or
die
die
situation. Like, so I get in there, I start taking a look and do some of the basic standard troubleshooting things, and. Yeah, it doesn't
Realize
work.
it's unplugged.
Well,
If it was unplugged, it would have been screwed
just
anyway.
none of it works.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm screwed. I don't know. I have no idea what is wrong with this thing. I guess I'll bounce that service.
Okay, Google.
Oh, hey, it worked. All right. Awesome. God, did it? I fixed it. Solved your problem for
And then
you.
I took a nap for 2 hours in the server room. Came out all sweaty.
It was the IMUSEC service. So little things like that have often enough come around. I call it, again, the moderate lottery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like these sorts of situations, like I'm describing in my main story.
Yeah, find a 20 on the street type of shit.
Yeah.
But it also has their social security number, their mother's maiden name, and their address.
And you get a moralistic choice with it, so that's kind of fun.
Funny
boy.
story
It's like a
about
Wonder
that.
Ball.
I was actually playing hooky, and I went to go visit Ray.
Oh yeah.
Because this is when we were both kids, and
Little baby Ray.
Yeah, I was skipping school, and
Steak sauce?
I found $50 on the side of the road.
Oh really?
Yeah.
While you were skipping school,
While I
you
was
keep
skipping
getting
school.
rewarded for doing shit you shouldn't do.
I know, right? It's really weird. But anyway, back to the main story.
Sure.
So I was okay. Well, I could either pay for this and make good by using somebody else's card that's already in there that they clearly forgot and put their PIN number in. It was just basically like select amount.
Oh my god.
So you could have taken however much you wanted. I mean, I think limit
$500.
was $500,
I think was the button that I had at the time.
Yeah. That's usually an ATM's limit.
But I'm like, all right, this is obviously the universe is tempting me, fate, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Ted, did you open a game called Jumanji recently?
Dude, tell me about it.
Dude.
So I'm like, all right, look, I'm already here trying to do the right thing. So let's go the distance. So I press 0, I get the card out, and hey, Scott, whatever the guy's name was on the card was, and sure enough, he was there getting ready to pick stuff. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for giving him his card back and everything. I used my parents' card like they gave me to pay for the stuff.
Should have been like, as a reward for giving you your card, I would like you to buy my groceries.
For one small fee, you can relinquish this card.
And I could have rightly asked for a reward. Sure. But that's not, I don't know, the principle of doing the right
point,
thing
yeah.
wouldn't,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be the point. And so I finished paying for everything, and then I had the extra cash out, of course, to go pick up the pizza.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that owned the pizza place was in there and saw all of this. And I'd been in the pizza place a number of times before.
Sure, it's a local joint.
Yeah.
They kind of know you.
Yeah. So they, and he was like, hey, I really have not seen something like that around these parts lately. And, I believe in, one good turn for another. Pay it forward, so to speak. So
Sure.
He offered me a job.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh,
And-
instead of just giving you free food, he offered you a goddamn job.
Yeah, Mr. Time gave him a job. Thank you for the job, Mr.
No,
Time.
well,
Teach,
and-
teach a man to fish, and he'll fucking make
Yeah.
pizza. I don't know.
And it was like, and not only was it a job, it was also, hey, large pizzas for $5. For forever.
Yeah.
The original Little Caesar, but less shitty.
Yeah. And, as I've continued along in my life, I always think about that experience because I didn't have to do those things. In fact, the consequence of them easily could have been much to my benefit for not doing the right thing.
Sure, it's a cost-benefit analysis in the moment.
Right, and that's where you get to the value of principle versus consequence. Consequence is actually very much how we are all brought up, and it's the basis for our society.
Right, don't do this because then this bad thing will happen.
Yes, capitalism, I pay X to get Y, and it needs to be done right now. If you don't hit your quota,
you're fired.
Right. Yeah, it's action and result. It's very much like cause and effect. It's very
I grew up in a Catholic household, so it's very much you do this sin, you will go to hell if you don't repent or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
Same thinking.
Right, and so that is what's called living through consequential ethics. And one of the things that I've learned is that there is far more value in living with a principle, with living with principled ethics instead. But the issue is that it's very difficult to demonstrate that value because it's not consistent and it's not something that you can put on a rate sheet or see.
It's not quantifiable.
Quantifiable.
It's not easily quantifiable in the short term.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in the long term, from everybody that I know, have experienced, and all the stories that I've read and all of the things that I've learned through my life, it always does end up paying out. And it's not something mystical like karma or any nonsense like that. It's just I don't know. It just is the way that it works out.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me like when I'm at work and the things I'm doing day to day or other people are doing day to day that don't get recognized immediately or been like, oh, well, good job, buddy. You did the extra fucking go ahead or whatever the case may be. But then down the line, somebody pulls a bunch of data at a CRM or whatever you're using, and then they're like, oh, shit, Eric has done this for 2 years and it just gave us all this data to fix a problem we didn't know we had or something like that because he was detail oriented or
Yep.
And
exactly
he was just doing what he thought he should do, but he didn't have to go the extra mile and do all that stuff. So
right. No, and that's an example of what I'm talking about, and it's consistent all the time where this is evident with people who do things on principle. A couple of other pieces to this are, no judgment if you don't make your bed in the morning.
What's a bed?
I know, right?
I sleep in a pile of my own filth. I sleep in a drawer.
But, walking in here, I saw your bed's made, right? So I assume that you make your bed on a regular basis.
In the morning.
Right? Well, I'm sorry, you're wasting your fucking time. Because... because you're going to...
Nice one!
Because you're just going to get into it and mess it up, right?
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, why make it?
Consequential approach. But who knows who I am, or who knows who might visit you at some point. Now, this is not something you can necessarily predict all the time, but it could be somebody important. It could be a recording executive or something that happens to be hanging out with one of your friends that's stopping by. And that, they're going to see that you have made your bed. And it's not so much whether or not the bed itself is made or not. It has to do with the discipline of making it.
Sure.
And how that discipline and how that pervades everything else
a
in your life.
regiment, a routine of some sort that shows you have you think about those type of things.
Discipline. It's about all the little things, and those little things all do really add up over a long period of time. And like you said, people see and notice that, or they see the effects of it over time, which again is another challenge with thinking about or having that kind of idea, because it's all McDonald's. I need it right now. Everything's got to be right now.
Yeah, this is America. I want it now.
Yeah, America.
Right.
The level of patience and the level of understanding of time longer than 2 weeks, the social zeitgeist that we see in the
long-term
Facebooks.
thinking is not existent. I mean, I just now learned I have a 401k plan, and I am 29 years old.
Yeah.
But it's kind of that... Fuck. Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. You can cut that.
I'm not going to cut.
We're just going to cut him out of the entire episode.
His mic's not even on.
Oh, it's on.
Shit.
So that's the story that I have to tell.
Yeah.
I mean, and you talk about learning from other people's mistakes. I mean, there is a principle in the value of learning from mistakes. And... learning from other people. That's actually a really awesome way to learn from mistakes, which I can respect, because it sucks to learn from your own.
Yeah.
Good to do that, but
Well, it's always good when you can empathize with somebody else, especially somebody you like or relate to or have some sort of connection with, and you see, oh, you did this thing, I probably would have done the same thing in your shoes.
But I see how it turned out for you, and That looks like
That
it's no
looks
fucking
shitty.
fun.
Yeah, exactly. I will learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, I
And
had
that
an
is why we're all
experience.
here.
Yeah, I had an experience where I was like, no, I'm gonna learn from my own mistakes this time. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna learn from my mistakes. I'm like, oh god, this is garbage. Why did I do this?
Yeah, right.
And so I learned from my mistake, which
Self-reflection
was
sucks.
intentionally learning from my own mistakes when I
Yes.
could learn from other people's mistakes.
Which is why this podcast exists.
And to keep beating that work example into the ground, because I work in an office, we're on the phone, we're
Please.
doing stuff on the computer.
Yeah, please keep telling us about your fascinating office stuff.
As people listen to this
You're not
probably
wrong.
at their office job.
Probably. No, well, I had so 2 new hires spaced out 2 months apart, trained them all. There's no training system. There's no X, Y, Z, do this thing. You just kind of freewheel it, essentially. That's how it goes. It's
That sounds awful.
tribal
honestly.
knowledge. It's
Like,
the worst.
It sucks.
Yeah, no, that
And
sounds
so
awful.
I started putting things together and like, okay, well, like let's start here. Come find me when you're done, and we'll kind of go back and
We'll
forth.
see
for
how
now.
terrible you did.
And partially blaming me, partially blaming the training. At a certain point, some of them are just like, let me do it. And if I do it wrong, I'll learn from my own mistake and I'll move on from there. And I'm like, all right, well, it's not like you're gonna really mess anything up. So
Famous
go for
last
it.
words.
And ended up with
Where'd
him
go?
getting a 20-minute earful from a customer over the phone, and he doesn't have any of the answers or any of the data to like support
Cool.
anything. And he comes to me and he's like, I fucked up pretty bad. So and so's real pissed off, and you're gonna have to talk to him. And I was like, oh god damn it. Shouldn't have let you done that, but you'll never do it again.
And what did you learn?
Just
Don't let them do that.
Manage my staff better.
It really depends on what you're letting them fall down on their own about. But
Well, and I like your earlier point of it's a change in our society of the kind of narrowing view and the lack of forethought of just. I think we've kind of lost that that idea of you want it. You can have it 2 ways. You can have it done fast. You can have it done right, or you can have it done
Cheap.
cheap.
good, fast, cheap.
There it
pick
is,
2.
yeah.
the trifecta.
Yes,
Yeah.
pick
Pick
2.
two.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of lost. Maybe that's just my old Midwestern spin now. Back from Pepperidge Farm, remember? But I think it is. It's a valid thing that I think a lot of people lose sight. And like you said, it's necessary to learn and grow and to kind of accept your mistakes and learn from them rather than just say, "Oh, blame everything else and it's the system, it's what have you."
Yeah. It also requires a certain level of self-awareness.
Very true, which is also hard to get these days.
Yep.
These kids these days.
These fucking kids.
And a lot of that, I think, just it has to do with the nature of accountability. Like,
Yes.
because in my story, right, it's a very scary thing to be accountable. Taking accountability, but I was like, I'm gonna go to jail. I didn't know. I was freaking
But I'll face the
Everything is
music.
jail when you do something wrong when you're a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The magnitude is a little skewed, but the thing is there's actually a lot of respect that you get from people when you take accountability. It's only you only are the shitty old douchebag when someone is holding you accountable.
Very true, and you don't take accountability for that mistake, or even if you aren't fully to blame, you at least say, well, I see that I fucked up here and here, how can I make it better? And I think that's
also
the big
the other
question.
piece too.
Always try and come up with a solution rather than scurrying away from the problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or even if you're like, hey, I done goofed this thing, you also coming up with I done goofed doing this thing, but here's 2 options of how I think we might be able to fix it. One of them is not firing me.
Here's 3 scenarios where I keep my job.
And in my 15 years, I obviously have not made mistakes before.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
single time that you own up to it and you own it and you become part of the solution. Obviously, it's been 15 years. I have not gotten fired. And no one that I've ever managed or anyone else has ever been penalized for taking accountability.
Exactly, and like you said, you earn a little bit of respect, especially from your bosses or something, especially if you come up before they know it's a problem, and it's like, hey boss, we have a problem, and it's kind of get fucked up, but here's how I think I can fix it. And I've gotten promotions doing that, and promotions I did not deserve, but at least I took accountability and was like, you're reliable.
It's like, it's like if you work for a really terrible boss who doesn't really know what they're doing, and you just fuck things up on purpose just to bring it to them, be like, I messed up. I'm being accountable. They're like, you know what, Johnson? You'll go far. Promotion for you.
I like your gumption, kid.
Just like every couple weeks, you just like come up with some weird fuck up.
Boss, I clogged the toilet, but I took care of it.
Promotion for you, Johnson.
Well, that's a part. That's too.
Doesn't that feel like it happens anyway?
Yeah, well,
It's always the fuck up.
Something
if you create a problem and then fix it, nobody knows about it.
Well, it's, if a tree falls in the forest, you know.
Yeah.
If Johnson fucks up accounting, does anyone really notice?
I created a problem at work, and then I was heralded as a hero for fixing it once. That was pretty messed up.
Beautiful.
Well, it's been 15 years. You don't have to be specific. Nobody knows what you're talking about.
It was last week.
Yeah, I could just go on and on with work examples about just knowing about a simple solution that nobody's seen or bothered to.
Well, here's a fun opposite way we could look at it. Does anybody have I think we've all faced this, especially coming from a big corporation like Microsoft, people who fail up. Like our president or politicians, or literally any other shitty person. Kind of that idea of that idea of failing up, of like, somehow this guy fucks up, everybody hates him, but he keeps getting promoted. So
it's the Peter principle.
Yeah,
kinda. Yeah,
I was just gonna say
people promote or advance to their lowest level of incompetence. So you basically promote someone until they reach a point where they can't quite do the job, and they just stay there. They don't promote past that point.
Plateau, so to speak.
Basically, by promoting people based on their performance in their current position, promoting them out of that position guarantees that you're going to have a lot of people who are the worst possible people to be doing whatever job you've promoted them to.
Yep. And that is a symptom, and the reason why that issue doesn't exist as much as it hopefully shouldn't in companies and other places is because because of a consequential approach to things. Because being promoted based off of what you have done implies that that's all you're doing.
Merit-based type thing.
Right. Yeah. But the thing is the principle is that you should reach out and stretch yourself a little bit. But the thing is I'm not getting paid for that. That's not my job description to do the extra thing.
But when you do those things, it adds up over time.
Right, because that is now showing that you are capable of doing whatever it is that's a little bit beyond your reach, which is it's those people who get promoted in those positions that end up not getting Peter principled because they are reaching past that and looking at it from the principled perspective.
It's a proactive approach.
Yes.
It's about investment in themselves.
Really good, though I have seen people stretch out, reach for the next thing, do things that are extending them into that realm, and then get there and realize that the job is not quite.
Oh fuck! I overwrote.
It's not quite all of those things put together. It's all those things, and then something else that you can't really do without being in that position, and then they're like,
right.
Fuck.
Right.
Spin till you win, dude.
Well, there's a piece of advice I still remember, and I think it's gotten me a couple of promotions, is just take a look at what your boss does, and if you can find one little thing that he doesn't have to think about anymore that you can take care of.
100% true.
Take care of it for him, and just say, I got you. And don't,
or if they're complaining about something or having to do something, say, I can do that.
That's a little piece of so what'd you learn advice on getting promoted, and kind of just be proactive, notice things in your employment or schooling or what have you, wherever the hell you are. And try and make life easier for your superiors, and that will get you noticed.
Yes. That does also come with a caveat, which is don't let people take advantage of you.
Very true.
If you, do those things, you can take something off your boss's plate. But I guess this comes down more to like the transactional or the consequential than it is the principle, because it's still your job, not a volunteer work.
Yes, that's I think you have to find like little things, like a little paperwork, a little bullshit. Oh, I can do scheduling, I can do this little thing for you, and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, but if your goal is to then be promoted, you should hopefully expect some sort of reciprocity for doing that thing over time.
Very true.
Because if you never get any either recognition or advancement, and that you just keep taking on tasks that aren't
That's
really
true.
yours, people will pass things off to you and then not actually
then
pay
you're-
you for them if they don't have
You're
to.
kind of, pardon the term, you're the office bitch, so to speak.
Right.
We know we can pass things on to Johnson.
Because
or-
he'll always say yes.
Or Burl. We know we can
Burl.
pass things on to
Burl.
Burl because, Burl's going to do it and he doesn't mind staying late. He's got no kids.
Oh, God. Fucking Burl without his kids.
Burl.
Yeah, and that issue particularly is a pretty tough nut to crack, but it has to do with courage. Luck will often enough save a man if his courage hold. Now, that's a line from the 13th Warrior, of all places. A very underrated...
Still a great quote.
Bringing the 13th Warrior back into the picture.
Well, it's a completely underrated movie.
totally
It's
is.
totally awesome. It's basically The Hobbit. It's the Hobbit story.
Who's in the what?
It's
I've
Antonio
not heard of this movie.
Banderas, and it's about a bunch of Viking, Nordic people, and Antonio Banderas is playing an Arabian fellow who gets exiled because he was having shenanigans with some caliph's wife or something. So you're an ambassador to the Dusupalad, the Northmen, and so crap, he has to go up and all the way into the boonies with all these barbarian weirdos. And when he's there, kind of hanging out and exploring stuff, apparently there's this big issue going on with one of their king's folk people, from their land, and they bring in this oracle that then says, all right, 13 warriors need to go resolve this situation, and the 13th warrior must be no Northman. And so Antonio Banderas accompanies the dwarves on the adventure to the Lonely Mountain.
There's
to go
literally
beat
dwarves
up the
in this
dragon.
movie?
No, they're Northmen.
Yeah.
But the analogy...
tiny?
No, they're big. They're mighty North... It's really cool, actually. It's
Am
a really
I
great
missing
film.
something?
Is it a movie
Yes.
or...
Because they all, all the...
It's a movie based off
you
of
seen
a book from Michael Crichton called
No,
The
clearly
Eaters
I have
of the
not
Dead.
seen it. I sound so confused.
So there are dwarves.
There's no dwarves.
There's no dwarves.
No.
There's Northmen, apparently.
There's
Yeah.
Northmen.
He's stuck on the Hobbit thing.
Yeah. So...
Oh, you're making a comparison to the Gotcha.
Yes,
I'm
there you go.
smart. I was like, and this movie took a left turn. I was still thrown with a Spaniard playing an Arab, but
Well, it was what 87?
Oh, wow.
80,
90s.
90s.
That's
Okay.
I
mean,
forget exactly which
a
year.
thing.
But it's still a great quote. I do like that. And I actually do want to check out this movie. It sounds interesting.
Yeah,
it's
it's
great.
a fantastic film. Like I said, it was very underrated at the box office. It's like the Hobbit movies, like the actual ones, I think they're garbage.
Yeah, because they are.
Yep, 13th Warrior is a great replacement for that.
it's true.
Well, this is the same reason I love Spotify for music, because it's all digital and it's horrible, but it allows me to dig into the non-greatest hits without digging through the entire world to find a source of
mountain
media
of
that's no
garbage.
longer created.
Are you one of those the what's the word? Because you said it's digital, therefore it's horrible. It's horrible because it's digital.
No,
You're
that's Jacob.
Physical media.
oh, that's Jacob.
yeah.
You're a not Luddite, but a analogophile.
I'll give you an
Yes.
example that never would have happened. So, David Bowie wrote a song called "All the Young Dudes" for this band called Mont the Hoople, which
Yes.
everybody has heard that version. Well, later on, in 2000 something, he covered his own song
Yes,
on
for
some
his live tour.
Yeah, for his live tour, and then I'll be damned if you find that on vinyl. That's that kind of thing is what's
Gotcha.
nice about Spotify. But at the same time, I would rather own the record if it existed.
Yeah.
So to complete my point about
Anyway, let's spend 30 minutes shitting on The Hobbit.
I would love to come back to that.
Oh yes, I'm all for coming back to that too.
But the reason why I brought up the thing about courage is because, you have to protect yourself from being taken advantage of, because the double standard here is that we live in a corporate society where consequential ethics are of paramount importance. And so, it would be in a corporation's best interest actually to take advantage of you.
Sure.
But, if they do that, you need to have courage to reach out for other options, because that's the risk. They are taking a risk by not rewarding you by providing, the opportunities.
How much
for
can this
what you
person
are
take before
distributing.
they break, so to speak, and we can't use them anymore?
Right, or they burn you out or something like
Yeah,
that. I mean, the similar example is like, look, my job is to do data center operations and stuff, but my job is to do whatever the fuck my boss tells me to do.
Yeah.
Does he want me to clean toilets with a toothbrush? Okay.
Guess that's what I'm doing today.
And by the way, principled perspective would make them the cleanest fucking toilets that you'd ever seen in your life. No problem.
Goddamn right.
There is a risk to doing that.
Yeah.
I don't want to clean toilets. If I'm as awesome as people think I might be, then I have a choice.
It's a waste of your skills to put you
Exactly.
on toilet duty.
Exactly. It's a waste of my skills, and they are going to lose those skills to someone else, a competitor or whatever, if
like
they
letting an
continue
all-star
having me
outfielder
clean
be the
toilets.
bat boy.
If they keep dumping stuff on me, and I'm also not seeing any, sort of investment or reciprocation or anything like that, right? Then I have an option to go over there.
Burn the building. Oh, change employers.
Give me the red stapler. Listen to the radio for the reasonable
grains of
volume
salt.
from 9 to 11.
From 9 to 11.
If they move my desk into the bathroom one more time, I swear I'm going to quit.
I need to rewatch that
That's
movie.
a scary prospect, especially if you have a family. If you have things that are people that count on you, right? Going
definitely.
and trying to look for other jobs. But see, again, you have to have courage.
Yeah, you really do. And even I've seen that example happen time and time again. I work in a environment where 80% of the folks are younger, don't have families, and probably live with other people or live alone. So leaving or moving or uprooting whatever they have fixed up for themselves financially probably isn't that hard to attain after, even with downtime.
They're malleable, so to speak. They can
Right,
adapt.
but at the
they can
same
also be
time,
like, "Bye."
if you abuse them
Yeah.
and make risky decisions at a very top level without analyzing the details, maybe you didn't understand on a personal level that you may not even need to have in order to run a business properly. But if you were to recognize those things, you would be like, oh shit, well, these people could just fucking leave.
Right,
It doesn't
right.
matter to them.
Yeah.
To a corporation, it's not necessarily the best thing to have a workforce that is not in a constant state of desperation.
Well, that's
Because
kind of
then
how
they can just be
capitalism
like,
works.
yeah.
You
literally.
constantly have to be fighting upward, and it's what's the term in business. If you're not moving forward, you're falling back behind.
Yeah.
Stagnant.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for joining us on Socialism Hour, brought to you by So What Did You Learn?
So what you learn brought to you by socialism.
So, Dennis, what are your opinions on The Hobbit?
Oh gosh.
I also have thoughts, and I think we might be in agreement.
What can I see here?
I tried to read the book and it sucked.
Computer animated piece of shit. You should get through the book because it's really good. If you can
It is a children's book, or geared more towards a
That's
younger
why I didn't
audience.
like it,
so
The issue with The Hobbit, as far as the books and Lord of the Rings, and even Silmarillion to a massive extent, is
if
like
you're a
the-
masochist,
the descriptions of landscapes and stuff are way too lengthy. Like the 30 pages of landscapes.
Well,
that
it's
you
what
just
Tolkien was good at. He was a world builder.
Yeah. It will lose you a little bit. So recognize if you can't get through the. But anyway, the movie itself.
Recognize.
I can't get through the movies, and it's computer animated pieces of shit. Like the thing that really, that part where the tower falls down and then the
Yes.
bricks are falling and Legolas is jumping up them
And
like
it's-
a
and
goddamn
its bottom
video
half
game.
is animated, essentially.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
freaking video game when he's
So
fighting
he's got
the
little
Stagor.
fucking.
Animated.
Exactly.
Oh, it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
glad I
really,
never saw them.
my
it was really awful.
my issues with The Hobbit, yeah, you can pour a bucket of flaming hot garbage CG on top of something, and it will be bad. Yes.
It was still
I take personal exception to how they treated Bilbo's character in that film, because the whole point of him, the conflict between Bilbo and Thorin is Thorin did not believe Bilbo belonged on the journey in the first place. He
That's right.
essentially viewed him as useless. Why are you here?
Whatever, Gandalf, okay.
Exactly, fine. I'll take this little piece of shit because you want me to, but
making
I'm
a
not
jerk
going
off
to
motion
enjoy.
while he
Yeah,
does
he's
it.
rolling his eyes, making a jerk off motion. And throughout the storyline, Bilbo has, I think, 2 or 3 moments where he proves his value by being courageous and by being intelligent. So the first one is they're in the mountains, and Bilbo wakes up. In the book, he wakes up and he sees the horses disappearing into a hole in the back of the cave because the goblins have come and they've stolen the horses. And he wakes up the group and says, "Holy fucking shit, guys, there's goblins!" And that whole section happens. In the movie, they make him into a coward because he is going to leave. He's going to abandon the group.
Yes.
And as he's trying to sneak out of the cave, another dwarf wakes up and sees the horses disappearing and alerts the group. So,
"Oi, cunt! What you doing?"
"Oi, cunt! Taking our horses!" So that moment is robbed from him as a character. And it's one of the pivotal moments that Thorin looks back to. It says, you're worth it.
That's a pretty goddamn big twist there.
Yeah. The second one, where Bilbo is supposed to show that he is intelligent, is when they get captured by the trolls. In the book, he starts distracting the trolls by getting them to argue, I think, if my memory serves me clearly, on how they're going to cook and eat the dwarves. So he starts getting them to argue amongst themselves so they don't notice the sun is coming up. And when the sun comes up, they turn to stone. Because Bilbo is a smart motherfucker and got them distracted and arguing. In the movie, they argue, then Gandalf shows up and uses his magic to crack a giant rock to let the sun through, turning the trolls to stone. So the second moment is robbed from Bilbo. So the entire character arc of the main fucking character of the entire bullshit cash grab trilogy were changed to make him either ineffective or a coward. So the emotional turnaround of Thorin, the emotional turnaround of Thorin saying like, "I see your value now," it is entirely meaningless.
Yeah, so they gave him a woman's character where they basically took all agency from him and...
essentially,
you're a bumbling doofus.
You're a bumbling doofus. Cool. Because Martin Freeman can't be smart or courageous. He's nebbish.
And those are the same qualities and characteristics that are properly conveyed in the character of... the Arabian character in 13th Warrior. So you will really enjoy that film.
Neat.
If you like the spirit of what Hobbit the book is as a story, then the 13th Warrior conveys that, but it's not dwarves and a hobbit, it's Northmen and an Arabian guy.
Cool.
But
gotcha.
Similar adventure story.
Thank you all for listening to me bitch about a movie that does not matter.
That was very insightful. I forgot about all these things and now I'm re-mad.
Yeah. Also, Evangeline Lilly didn't need to be in that movie, and neither did Radagast the Brown because his character was garbage. Just saying.
Cool. Going back to the CGI thing, from Avatar, well, ever since...
Another piece
CGI,
of shit.
Yes. Avatar, and then the Hobbit CGI solidified bullshit CGI hatred on top of something I used to love. Well, I mean, I didn't used to love a movie that didn't exist. I love the story.
Yeah.
Then to
I saw Fern Gully too.
And now we're at the point we're at Midsummer, and they used small, tactful pieces of CGI to accurately convey the feelings, emotions, and visuals you get while on shrooms. It is so accurate.
The audience know that movie blew my fucking hippie noodle. That movie blew my fucking hippie noodle. I was like, oh my god.
It was very, very good. And then when I was in the theater watching that, I was like, I realized how CGI could actually be a good
useful
thing. Because in small, tactful doses, it's an instrument.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a tool like anything else. It just depends on how you use it.
Did you guys ever see Logan?
The rated R
Wolverine movie.
It was good.
Yes.
Did you, Dallas?
I thought it was amazing.
I loved it.
It's really good.
Yes.
Okay, now in the scene where spoilers, Dallas.
It's fine.
There's a cloned version of Logan, like young Logan, that beats the shit out of everyone, right?
Weapon X23.
Weapon X23, but not
yes.
the shitty one from the Deadpool movie with Ryan Reynolds with he had swords and could teleport and shit.
Yes, and they sewed his mouth shut.
They sewed his mouth shut. Oh god. Thank God. Ryan Reynolds needs to shut the fuck up sometimes. So
He's a good Deadpool. He's supposed to be annoying.
Yes. So do you two, Zach and Dennis, remember that shot where the young Wolverine is walking down the stairs after killing Xavier?
Yes.
And old Wolverine sees Weapon X-23 and he's like, what the fuck? Right? Mm-hmm. Did you know that in that shot, that entire headpiece was entirely CGI? They didn't take Hugh Jackman and youngify him. They generated that shot completely, entirely new. Like there was a body double there, but everything, like his chest was exposed. Chest, head, everything was entirely CGI, and you never would notice.
No, it's astonishing. And not to bank this off on another thing, but I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday about there was a video game Ellen Page loaned her likeness to Beyond Two Souls. And
Beyond Two Souls.
Yes, I can't forget the colon. Very important. Check your colon, kids.
Yep. Or adults, preferably adults.
Yeah, I mean, good at it.
Moving on.
We're back on the point of principle. Right? There we go. What is Logan about?
Logan?
Yes.
He has not seen the movie.
I haven't seen the movie.
What would you say it's about?
What would I say it's about? Principle.
Yeah, I don't. It's been about what it come. I saw it when it came out. So, but I remember it enough, and I read the comic. Shit, give me a minute.
From what I remember, he basically Logan helps transport whatever her name is.
His
X-13.
X-13. Yes.
X-13.
His quote-unquote
to
daughter.
the north, to the Canadian border, I believe.
Sanctuary.
For sanctuary, because it's the right thing to do.
Even though he doesn't want to.
Even though he doesn't want to.
All mutants have pretty much been eliminated. He's seen all his friends die. He's dying himself. Xavier's gone nuts. Yeah. Alzheimer's is the word I was looking for.
Gone nuts. Same difference.
So a lot of what you're describing is what happens in the film. But
Yes.
what it's about is about people suffering from PTSD. He's seen all of his friends die. Like he's doing it, but he doesn't really want to. I mean, because he doesn't even really go accompany the kids at the very end. Spoilers. He doesn't really, go with those kids until they're already like, oh, it looks like they're about to get freaking owned.
No, he sacrifices with that giant melee through the forest where he goes all nuts.
So I really enjoy films that are about something. Like Lord of the Rings is about the nature of industrialization and the dangers of overusing that power. Of all the other like comic book films, there's only a handful that actually are about something. Lots of them have lots of people flying around with computer animated lasers, and it's really fun action schlock, and I love it. But
you see it in IMAX and it blows your fucking mind.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why I saw Doctor Strange, and I thought that was a good movie until I rewatched it.
like Captain America, Winter Soldier, actually, is probably like one of the better ones of all the Marvel series.
I liked that one a lot.
Because it's about something. It's about the nature of the government's misuse of information and surveillance.
Information.
It's a good allegory.
This isn't freedom, this is fear.
Yes.
Captain America isn't reflecting America in that story. He's reflecting us.
Right.
And our position on those
He's
sorts of
reflecting the
things.
people, not the government.
Well, see, this is why I've
Right.
never gotten into the whole superhero stuff, because I just threw it in the corner as CGI bullshit. But
Most of them are. Some of them are not.
But there are some diamonds in the rough. There are some breaths of fresh air in the rooms full of farts.
Well, it's like comparing all video games to just Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed
Or Halo,
and Halo, and that's what all video games are. Just shoot 'em up, army guy. But if like anything else, you find the nuance. You can find very artistic, very well-rounded. Well-rounded. Thank you. Representations of an artistic medium.
right.
So it just takes a little bit of digging and a little bit of thought, and there's plenty of podcasts and apps or websites that can tell you about that.
Is Gollum technically CGI?
Gollum is entirely CGI.
Well,
But it
no.
was motion capture. Like his texture is
and
all
the
CGI.
faces and
type of thing.
Well, because I remember like seeing a behind the scenes thing where they were just copying. They were watching videos of his facial expression and exactly copying.
So what motion capture
motion
is
capture.
they put on a suit that has the little dots on it, and oftentimes
ping pong balls
little
and
ping
shit.
pong balls.
Do they have little things
They'll
on the
do some
face,
things,
too?
do them on the face as well, and that's what they did for Avatar.
And most
They
of your
did motion
AAA
capture.
video games are filmed
Right,
that way.
right. So the movements are informed by an actual person
physically acting.
So you
but
get an analog sort of
Kind of
style
skill
of
input
movement
type
to
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the surface of it is animated in a computer. The thing about, I think, Avatar that was new was to the degree at which the facial movements were motion captured, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and actually, if you want to see a better
That's
example
3D,
of that,
right? I thought
It was
the
3D.
It was the
shooting
First
and-
3D in
but
theaters,
if,
right?
If you want
No. The 3D has been around since the 70s.
Well, wait, what?
if you want to talk about
Whatever.
how they captured the facial for computer animation, actually
Well,
look
okay,
into
sure.
the Uncharted series, which was a PlayStation video game series, and specifically Uncharted 4. All of the cutscenes are all acted out by the voice actors. It is all of them doing those stunts and doing those facial. So it was enacted, but then it was an animated video game, quote unquote, movie.
Cinematic.
Yeah, so if you want a really good example of that, I'd recommend watching the making of either Uncharted 3 or Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 is a little better because the technology was a little better. And that came out, I want to say, 2016, something like that. So it's gotten a couple years of, but Avatar was one of the originators where they basically
Put a camera
stuck a
in
GoPro
front of
to the fucking actor's head.
Yeah.
It's filmed their face.
Their faces were recreated. But the other thing that I noticed when I was watching like the making of versus what we're seeing on screen is that the one thing that they couldn't transfer was eye movement. So like if someone's acting and they're moving their eyes around, that performance
has
is
to
not
be
that has to be
done.
animated.
No, that's interesting. Well, I guess you can't put a fucking ping pong on somebody's pupil. And
Yeah. maybe a digital contact one day, but we're
that's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, I actually would.
Cool. Well, it's hot as balls.
Yeah, so this might be a quick one. We had a nice.
What are we
Oh,
at,
it's
by the
not-
way?
We're at an hour. We're good.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
well,
We
it
just
went pretty quick.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
exactly when you rant about the fucking
Hobbit.
Hobbit.
No, that was a fun, nerdy discussion and a nice discussion about corporate culture and how to move principle and how to move yourself forward. And I think there's some good advice in there. So
Yeah,
I really
think-
want to thank you for coming up.
thank you so
and
much.
We'd love to have you back again to kind of. I don't know. I'd love to hear more about what it is you do or how it is you rose to this rank. I think that'd be pretty interesting for our audience and myself.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to it, and again, the pleasure is mine. And I hope that this wisdom is helpful to help people avoid some of the trappings of living in a consequential world.
And you may not get it now, but it'll knock around in your brain, and sometimes at some point you'll reach a point and it's like, oh fuck yeah, I remember listening about these four idiots talking about ranting about the Hobbit, and they actually said something good.
Somewhere in the middle of there.
Right on. Well, thanks so much, Dennis. Really appreciate it.
Very cool.
My
you have
pleasure.
anything to plug? You mentioned your Airbnb, but is there a
Air D&D.
or D&D? Excuse
Yeah.
me. Is there a site we can find you on or social media?
www.thedndexperience.com, because you can't put ampersands in URLs.
You can, but it won't work.
Yeah, it'll get all funky on you. But yeah, www.thedndexperience.com. Check
cool.
it out and come experience some of the variety of stories and adventures that you can go on as I teach you and your friends how to play Dungeons and Dragons, or even if you're an experienced person. Again, it's not just like you hang out in my basement and eat Cheetos, and it's
No,
not like
this is next level shit.
Like-
No, you're
But
going
can
on an
I
adventure.
eat
Yeah.
Cheetos?
Yes, you may.
lights.
Okay.
I have backgrounds, music, the entire thing. Raymond Street is the name of an author I collaborate with who writes some fantastic stories. Not just
I didn't
about
know he wrote
This sounds
some
like a
of them.
blast.
yeah,
honestly.
not just about the adventures themselves, of which there are many. It depends on what decisions you make, because it's open ended. You make your own choices as you work
Yeah.
together as a team. But these stories are all about something.
Very cool.
And some of them are pretty deep.
Oh, yeah, so
actually.
check that out.
But I speak to them constructively, and it's really a lot of fun. So.
I'm a recent convert to D&D, as nerdy as I am, hosting a podcast at my age. But I just recently started playing D&D a couple years ago, and have found it to be a nice creative output, and it's fun to just play a fun story with your friends and kind of make up shit. It's like an improv game, so
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's
if you're
always
afraid
something to
of
learn,
starting
especially.
this might be a good way to check it out.
Exactly. It seems intimidating at first. It's
Yeah.
something I hope
Yes.
that anxiety is something I hope to strip away from people
From
and
folks, yeah.
it's great practice actually at doing scary things like
It is.
like performing in front of other people.
Oh, and
Even when it's just your friends.
Yeah, even when it's just your
You
friends.
would
Yeah.
know more than most, I think, about performing in front of others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, very cool.
Who even are you, Dallas?
Wait, hold on. Let me just.
To see Dallas, go to meatspin.com.
Meatspin-d.com.
Where is the so you get people from all over, I assume.
How often are you getting all over
far
the country?
flung are some of these people from? Like, where do they come from usually?
All over the country. I don't think I've had anybody international that wasn't already accompanying somebody who signed up that was domestic.
Cool.
But they're travelers from
domestic.
from all over the country, and I am booked all the time. I was actually featured on King 5's evening show.
Yes,
Oh, nice.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Looked it up.
Yeah. So back in the anyway, it's been a wild ride. The reception to this service's arrival was has far exceeded my expectations.
That's very cool.
Which is fantastic for me because it's great to share my art, to share my expression,
Yeah, and
my
if
non-corporate self.
anybody can break the dirty basement, boring, nerdy stigma of D&D, it's this guy.
Fuck yeah.
Aw.
Well
So-
said. So,
well, thank you.
Cool.
Dallas, you want to tell people where they can find us?
Yeah, they. So we have a Gmail where you can send us any story you'd like, and we'll read them or talk about it. It's sowddylearn@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram, which is sowddylearn podcast, and Twitter is the same. So
And you can follow me at Zach Kowalski on Twitter. Not doing any shows right now, but when I do, I will be sure to tweet them out. And you can come give me pity laughs because I'll need it.
I'll be there. Pity laughing. You can't follow me anywhere because I plan on joining the Swedish Harga cult, and they don't have computers.
Sad.
Beauty. What's a compute? What computing?
yeah, right on. All right,
Bye, everybody. We love
bump
you.
it. Oh God.
The So What Did You Learn podcast is brought to you by the So What Did You Learn network. Theme written and recorded by Jacob Rose. Our logo was designed by Stevie Van Bronckhorst. Further work of hers can be found at stevievanb.com.